probably the most important component that you want to be able to protect for your family. I'm going to share with you the final stages in protecting your money. So now you have worked hard your whole life. You have raised your family. You got out of bed every single morning. You took care of your debt. You managed your debt. You saved money for your kids' education. All of these great things. But too often today, this last component is missing. This last component is missing. And it's all about protecting your money in these final stages. And there's a word that I always use, and it's the word about leaving a legacy. The word legacy is not actually often used in today's language. Did you guys know that? But I'll tell you what, you go talk to your grandparents or your great grandparents, it was talked a lot about. What does that look like for you, right? Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to make sure that your family is winning when it is your time? You know, Ron did a phenomenal job and he talked about getting proper protection in case you pass away too soon. Jesse then talked about what if along the way you may get sick, to be able to make sure that you have everything in place. And then Brian talked about, again, building your assets for growing in case you live too long. But I'm going to close out here. There's one guarantee in life. You will be guaranteed to pass away sometime or another. When will that time comes? We don't know. We honestly don't know. But is your family prepared? Are you prepared to leave a legacy for your loved ones? You know, many years ago, prior to my husband and I joining this great campaign, we got the late night phone call, the phone call that no one likes to get. So we got the phone call, and we found out that my husband's father, my father-in-law, passed away very suddenly in his early 50s from a massive heart attack. He passed away. He was a truck driver, so he passed away in a different province. He was in the province of Alberta. Luckily, he was not on the road at the time, but we got the phone call the next morning. The next morning, my dear friends, we were in that funeral home. The next morning, we were answering questions about this casket and that casket, and what about this cost, and do you want this, and do you want that? And our heads were just spinning. Our heads were just spinning. We didn't want to be there. We wanted to be home with our family. We wanted to mourn and grieve properly. We didn't even know anything at this point. And in fact, his body still wasn't even home yet. It was still in Alberta. This can happen to your family. Are you prepared? And the worst thing is then I had to watch my mother-in-law slide across that credit card, across that big boardroom table. I never want to have to leave these responsibilities to our loved ones that we are leaving behind. And that is part of this phenomenal financial literacy event, is to help and empower families with the education so you can take the responsibility, so you can you have the understanding, knowing that you and your family are going to be well taken care of. So it's very important in understanding, how does that work, right? So number one, Ron talked about it. Do you and your family have adequate life insurance protection? Will you guys be well taken care of? Now, there is also great strategies in place as well, where some of these life insurance programs can be paid out within a 48-hour period. So then your loved ones, your children that you're leaving behind, don't have to out of pocket any of their funds, right? Do you have a will? Did you know, Ron? Did you know, right? I know Ron knows, but over 55% of Canadians today don't even have a will. Do you have a will, right? Are you planned already for your final expenses? Do you have a strategy in place to make sure that that's all going to be well taken care of, so we're not leaving the responsibilities onto our loved ones? And understanding how the probate process works here in our country. You know, Brian talked about building your wealth and saving it and growing it in all these great places, tax advantage, all of this. But guess what? When one person passes away in our country, everything rolls over to the surviving spouse tax free. But then now what happens to the last survivor? So now the last survivor, when that person passes away, everything in their name, everything that's going to be generating income, their home, maybe their assets, everything that they've built will now all go into a big box. Okay. I call it a big box. And it's the house here that you see. Everything goes in there. And then it's valued. And then all of a sudden, now there's a whole lot of people getting involved in this process. And you may not like it. Guess what happens? First, the accountants have to come in and do up all the income taxes. They also will take a portion out of that amount because they don't do that for free. Lawyers will come in and drop all the legal documents, go through the will, if there is a will, right? If there is any debt owing, the banks will come in and they will take their share. And lastly, the government comes in and will take the income taxes. And on the majority of the time, we're typically seeing a third, almost even half of it completely gone. Then and only then will it be distributed to your loved ones according to the will. There are great strategies out there that you can bypass the probate, where life insurance has different rules. Life insurance here in our country bypasses the probate, where your family will receive the death benefit that Ron talked about directly. It will not go into the big box. There are ways that you can build up your assets and you can put them in a segregated fund, an RRSP or a tax free savings into a segregated fund, and it can bypass the probate process. Therefore, go directly again to your loved ones. Ask yourself, who is your favorite child, the government or your kids? I hope it's your kids. I hope it's important for you to build that legacy for your family, to keep moving that forward, right? And, we've seen this over and over again. And right now, we are in a stage right now where all the baby boomers are going into retirement. We are seeing this, and so many families out there have so many questions on this. Make sure you sit down with the person that invited you and get these questions answered. I had my uncle passed away many years ago, and he was already divorced at this time. He has done a great job in building his assets, and he had a home. Well, he was proper protected, so his two children received his life insurance 2 months later after he passed. But everything else went into the big box. And that big box, it stayed in there. And all the other people came in and all these things that happened. And guess when finally his estate settled? 2 years. Jesse, it wasn't until 2 years later it was settled that his two children got to be able to get the assets and continue leaving that legacy, right? It's all about getting informed. It's all about getting the information. And that's why we're sharing with all of you guys today, right? Because then you need to ask yourself this question: how do you want to be remembered? How is it that you want to be remembered? I don't know about you, but man, this is our responsibility. What if we pass away too soon? Our kids and our family well taken care of? What if we get sick along the way? Jesse talked about some stats. Did you guys hear that? 1 in 2 chance of getting cancer in our lifetime. Are we prepared for that? Are you prepared for that? What about all of a sudden we live too long, right? A lot of us have that fear where we have that uncertainty where all of a sudden, are we going to outlive our money? What if we outlive our money? What if we live too long? And lastly, is getting prepared and everything ready in that final stage of your life, because we have no idea when that final stage is going to happen. But sitting down and having these conversations with your family, sitting down and putting it into action, because we just don't know. And then all of a sudden, you will have that peace of mind, knowing that you and your family are going to be well taken care of when it is your time to come. Absolutely incredible information, you guys. Excuse my great colleagues shared with me this morning. All about protecting your assets, right? So I'm really excited because I hope you guys stick around, because our last workshop is all about building forward, right? Building forward, and now you have an opportunity to change your family's future. So make sure you guys stick around. Thank you guys all so much. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.